how do you resonate to a consumer like they're the only consumer? Now is the time we can use data and use AI to understand our customers far better. What I see AI helping us do first is reducing the noise of the volume of messaging to the consumers, being more accurate for touching consumers at the right time.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. I'm your host, Bill Springer. Today's podcast is hosted by DriveSure. DriveSure helps new car dealerships remain the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. For information on how DriveSure can help your dealership, go to drivesure.com/dealership solutions. Today's guest is Todd Smith, the CEO and co-founder of Core AI, a company that helps dealerships harness the power of artificial intelligence to make better decisions, retain more customers, and optimize operations. Todd has spent decades in the automotive tech space, previously founding Active Engage, and now pioneering AI-powered dealership intelligence at Core AI. His focus is on making complex data more useful, actionable, and relevant for real dealership teams, especially when it comes to service retention and improving the customer experience. If AI feels overwhelming or out of reach, this is the episode for you. So, Todd, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Bill, thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad I'm now in a conversation with another data nerd that we can discuss data, because data is at the center of any AI application.
Sure.
Without good, clean data, AI does not perform. And I think we've already seen this in some of the preliminary tools and applications that have been put inside dealerships around service, for service AI scheduling and other tools. So yeah.
Sure. Sure. Well, let's dive right into it. Todd, what do you see as really the biggest opportunity right now for dealerships to use AI specifically to help drive and improve their customer retention?
Absolutely. So I think the number one thing that I look at is dealers need to own and organize all their data. What I mean by that is that means you need to pull it out of the DMS, CRM, website. You need to extract data from any tool you're using and put it in one place that goes through three processes. First is what I consider organizing the data. So that's bringing the data in from all of these disparate systems into a single, what we call data schema. After that, we want to hygiene it. As we know, data in most of these systems is pretty garbage. Lots of duplications. Case in point, you could have a husband and wife who buy a car. Husband brings it in for the first service appointment. Then the wife brings it in. So now that creates a second owner to that car in the service drive and under the ROs. And then maybe a child brings it in, one of their kids, and now you have a third. And all of a sudden now that household is getting bombarded with mail or emails or text messages, yet there's only one owner of that car. So I think this is part of the key, which is doing a really good and thorough job of hygiening, as well as ensuring that the consumer still owns that car. And then finally is enhancing that data. So taking all the dealership data, which is transactional, always in nature. So I bought a car, I sold a car to them, I serviced the car. We want to add data around that, behavioral data, like what can they afford? Where do they live? What type of cohort are they in? Are they retirees? So budget might be an issue. Are they rich retirees? The budget is not an issue. Are they single parents? So there's about 74 cohorts. So everyone lives in one of these. So with that intelligence, plus the dealer's transactional intelligence and the organization, that's where we have to get to first, then to be able to leverage AI.
Gotcha. So taking that next step, then once you've got that data organized the way in which you want it and can use it, what are some of the typical applications that a dealership can use that data for an AI to bring about a better customer experience?
Yeah, so I agree 100% with this concept, Bill, that everything should be focused around the consumer experience. And as we look at AI for me takes us beyond what we've traditionally done. And what I mean by that is and as you know, for service retention, we usually live in a real linear path, meaning let's use a good example for customer retention. Let's start where it begins. Customer buys a new car and you try to schedule the first service appointment. But let's say customer's busy, late delivery, they forget, didn't do the service department introduction, which
Hmm.
happens all the time.
Yep.
So then what happens is within a month, they get an email from the CRM. And then in 2 months, they get another email. In 3 months, they get another email. In 4 months, they get an email. In 5 months. And the real reality is now, if we understand consumers' behavior and AI can learn behavior, we can target the right message at the right time,
Hmm.
and or the AI can. And I look at that because otherwise we're training consumers to ignore us. When we send these linear things on a schedule, we tend to interrupt the customer, not at opportune times. And on top of that, we're training them to just, no, I don't need it. I'm just going to start ignoring it until I need it, right?
Yeah.
So I think the what I see AI helping us do first is reducing the noise of the volume of messaging to the consumers, being more accurate for touching consumers at the right time. Case in point, let's use a little, again, data for this particular conversation where, and we'll stay focused on this new customer that just bought a car. So if I look in the history, I could go back and see, oh, this customer services at this interval. So I know about how much they're driving. And because of that math, pretty simple to go, this customer most likely will not need their first service appointment till 5 or 6 months from now.
Hmm.
So at that point, the AI could look and say, hey, I don't need to do anything right now. I need to wait until that fifth month, and maybe early. It automatically then sends the message to the consumer. It says, hey, we haven't seen your first scheduled appointment. I think you're getting close. Would you like to go ahead and do that now? This is where AI is going to offer us really deep flexibility in how and when we communicate with customers, because it can cut through all the data, find the patterns, and ultimately deliver a better experience.
Yeah. It sounds like it's rather than one size fits all, it's one size fits one.
That's the whole point. And there was a book written, I think in the early 90s, called One to One. I think it was Don Peppers and Sarah. I can't remember her name. I feel bad. But that book was written. And the ambition is always, how do you resonate to a consumer like they're the only consumer? And right
Hmm.
now, dealerships blast in service. And
Yeah.
now is the time we can use data and use AI to understand our customers far better. We may understand, and we've already worked on building predictors on who's most likely to defect from service. So, based on previous patterns and based on what we see them actively doing, this is another area that dealers could easily step into, what I call low hanging opportunities, to be able to start to leverage AI.
Hmm.
Or, one of the other ones I always look at is the rough transition between warranty pay and customer pay, where we see usually like a 70% drop off. So if I know a consumer is 3 to 4 months approaching that window, now is the time to, again, behaviorally get ahead of them, to interject and write message and help them transition into customer pay by showing, hey, it's not that expensive, kind of almost setting them up for the next phase of ownership success. And I
Hmm.
don't think we do that very well in most dealerships.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point, Todd. When you talk about identifying um, defection points or customers that are at risk of defection, um, tell me a little bit more about that in terms of what you've learned that may not be obvious to dealership service directors, based upon their past experience.
Yeah. So when we see interesting things of, let's say, an RO opens super long period of time, and then we don't see them for that customer back in at their previous like cadence, this is something I usually
Hmm.
pop up. Something happened there.
Yeah.
And these are those things where, man, AI is so fast at spotting those patterns, or even taking service repairs and when ROs are closed, then monitoring Google reviews for service and to see alignment to go, oh, bad review, this customer, I want service manager outreach. I don't want a service advisor at this point. I want the manager to contact that customer.
Yeah.
And I think those are some, to me, not, it's been hard to ever get to that knowledge without having AI. I'll give you another one. Like we have a large size group. They have a service BDC. So we mapped all declined services. No problem. So we saw an impending huge storm coming, winter storm. So we quickly went in and said, hey, show me all customers who declined tires or brakes in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Short list. It wasn't giant. There was maybe like 80 some people on the list. And then it was BDC call and say, hey, Bill, as a super valued customer of our group, I just wanted to let you know we have this impending storm. Your safety is important. I see you declined brakes last time. Is that something you'd like to get taken care of before the storm? Boom. They filled their service bay. And why? Timing. And I think a lot of times it's like, wow, that was thoughtful. It wasn't just the standard, hey, when do you want to come in for service? It was, wow, you've correlated things and made it very valuable. And the only way this happens is if we have all the data organized and we can leverage the AI intelligence on top of it.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's a great example. I'm curious, Todd, has your work allowed you to see any insights, particularly around tires? Because we know that tires is a major point of defection for customers, and even customers who report out that they're extremely loyal to their dealership will very often wind up going somewhere else for tires, if for no other reason than they don't even realize that the dealership sells tires. As surprising as that sounds. I'm curious if you've found any insights around tires, both in terms of why customers defect, or the corollary to that is what are some success stories that have helped dealerships sell more tires?
Great question. I think we're really early for that.
Okay.
But my understanding of the data so far is you're right. Tires and the dealership seem to have a disconnect. Many dealers don't understand that dealers sell tires, or they think they're too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one is timing any tire messaging to the wear and tear of the tires, which we can see pretty easily inside the data. So if I know you're a highway driver and you do not have a tire and like wheel policy right in place, because we could see that too in the data. So again, the goal is to look at a customer as holistically as possible, from a household level, and then as an individual and driving a particular vehicle, a particular tires, wheels on it, etc., brakes, all the way down. And I think soon enough we'll be able to time that. Hey, I know this customer tires are going to be a needed point. So
Right.
I think for dealers, and I'm not a marketer, Bill, so please, I'm the data nerd. But if I was sitting in the marketer, I would actually send to the customer, hey, I believe you're going to need tires within the next probably 60 days. And again, safety is a concern. Here's tire prices in the market. If you called Firestone, if you called here and put a date, like I called for like your model, and
Mm-hmm.
it could be this specific because of all the data you could roll up. And most of the stuff is publicized, and say, I can offer you tires at, three and you get one free, or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
program is.
Right.
I think it takes that, and all this can be automated, by the way. As much as I like creativity only works if you automate it. It's super hard to do at scale if you're doing this manually. So,
Right. Absolutely. Um, so Todd, many dealership general managers, principals, executives are intrigued by AI, but they might feel a bit intimidated or overwhelmed by the idea of where to start. So, what would you say to those folks who might be overwhelmed to get started with AI?
Absolutely. I teach a AI cohort on Wednesdays, um, and I tell everyone this, Bill. Go get ChatGPT, pay the $20 for a paid subscription, and
Hmm.
play with it. You
Yeah.
don't have to upload stuff to it. Ask it questions. I can give you a list of 100 prompts to just mess around with it to understand how it behaves, to build some confidence into what it's trying to do for you. Because all as an LLM is, it's predicting because it's crawled the entire internet, it's read most every book at this point, it's gobbled up 99% of written human knowledge. Okay. Its job is to just predict because language is very predictable. That's why language worked far before math did inside these LLMs.
Hmm.
That it's predicting the next letter, which predicts the next word, which predicts the next sentence, which predicts the next paragraph, which predicts literally the thought. And that's what this is. And that's all it is. And it's not an overwhelming thing when you go in and play with it. Listen, my
Yeah.
wife now uses ChatGPT. I think, Bill, she's analyzing my text messages to try to read between the lines. Like,
Yeah.
is Todd angry today?
Yeah.
What does he believe? Act as a behavioral psychologist and read his text messages with me, and it drives me absolutely crazy, Bill. But I think that this is the best time to start. And I preface this because I saw the same thing when the internet came out. And I was young in the business. I started selling cars in 1990. So I was that age when you're like, oh, you're the younger dude. You figure out the internet. While
Hmm.
the owners and GMs didn't. And I think the owners and GMs who did in the past became the powerhouses of today. And I think AI is going to be tenfold the results of what the internet was. The
Yeah.
internet set us up. This is going to take us into a whole new world
Yeah.
of operational efficiency, understanding, and the people who join today and get into it are going to be the ones that reap the reward. And to
Yeah.
me, it's being prepared. It's like,
Yeah.
it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing for us to win is true operational efficiency. And AI will bring that to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in terms of looking at some of the metrics, kind of the metrics that matter around AI, and this might be a bit of a meta discussion, talking about the metrics around AI. But once a dealership starts using AI, are there any metrics that they should pay particular attention to around implementation?
Yeah. So, all dealers, I suggest starting AI small. And it's what is that saying? Like aim small, myth small. So, don't think of AI to take over your whole organization. Think of it like what task is very repetitive that someone has to do that if AI could do that for them, oh my gosh, that person would be really happy.
Yeah.
And you need one or two of these. So in our company and all the groups we work with, we name projects after the people that we're offloading work from. So we have a project called the Emily Project. Emily does payroll, as sales payroll, and service advisors. And the problem is, you go in, you have to match, okay, how many cars did this person sell, or how many ROs? What was the gross? What was their pay plan? It takes days when you have a group.
Yeah.
Now it happens in 15 seconds. And now there's still a human in the loop. Emily's still looking at the data. But in the end, man, she's a much happier person because she
Yeah.
can focus on more valuable things.
Yeah.
So I look at what is one or two things in your store today that if you replaced or pulled that person off of the repetitive task, you would see incremental gain. It
Hmm.
could be something as simple as, hey, you have way too much reports and you're trying to analyze them. reports can be uploaded into systems and analyzed pretty easily at this point. And because let's be honest, Bill, I don't think anyone wants another dashboard. I don't think anyone wants another Excel report with pivot tables in it. I think we want, what do I do? What happens next?
Yep.
How do I execute? I think that's what this technology, the hope for this technology is here to deliver.
Yep. Yep. Makes sense. Makes sense. So looking ahead, Todd, where do you see kind of the biggest AI advancements coming from for fixed ops and customer retention? Looking into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, fixed ops has traditional bottlenecks. So bottlenecks that have to be solved. One, the data has to be organized, but beyond that, there's a lot of activity around voice in the service drive today. So offloading appointment setting is one thing. That's pretty easy. That to me is like, that's kindergarten stuff, right? Because all I need to do is say, hey, this is a customer, look up a customer record. Okay, I'm going to set an appointment. Challenges with that, you know, is there an open recall? Probably is not going to know. Did they decline work before? Not going to probably know that either. Like, unless you build it off a data pool that has all that. I think the bottleneck still with AI is, and we have to figure this out, is dealerships and how they operate in service. And what I mean by that is many times they're not closing repair orders as the technician is completing tasks. They close it at the end, or they close it at the end of the day. So, and the majority of calls coming into service, they're status updates. So the bulk of what we really want AI to help us with to increase retention, because again, if customer has to call in 2 or 3 times, keeps getting service advisor's voicemail, can't know what's the status of their car, can't get it, frustration happens, they show up and the guy's like, it's going to be another 30 minutes, or hey, it's not happening today. I'm sorry I didn't call. Like, there's a high level of, you're going to piss people off. And I think we have to figure that part out in the data first, because then AI can make quick work of it. And to me, that's the true thing that has to be fixed. Now, beyond the retention side, or into the retention side, I think it's using AI to understand our current customers, who is going to defect, timing. Oh, this consumer has an open safety recall, but I don't want to just call them. I want to check to see if the part's available first. And then I want to call them only if those two things match. Because right now, what do? We call them. Hey,
Yeah.
oh, or we send them an email that says, hey, you have an open recall, and they call us. And you're like, yeah, 4 months.
Yeah. Right.
So we
Right.
set up bad experiences because we're we haven't connected the data up well yet. And so I think rule one, connect the data. And then retention, I think there's so much opportunity for us to build deeper value. I have one dealer, he said, show me my top 50 or 100, I forget what it was, service customers. And I was like, okay, based on what they spend, how often, etc. We did it. He goes, cool. I'm renting out a restaurant. I'm inviting them all to dinner. I was like, super cool. Most systems, they don't have that data. Like
Yeah.
you have to get it, compile it, let AI, you need to go in there and extrapolate all that. And I
Yeah.
think being able to quickly ask a question of a LLM, hey, show me my top 50 customers, prioritize them in order of spend for service over the last 18 months. Boom, I have that answer. I could go do something with that. And I think bringing the data to action and collapsing that. Because right now, if we think about it, if I had an idea like that, I would have to go to my data guy, right? Or maybe my IT guy. Someone's pulling a report, handing it to some marketing company. Weeks go by, and then I forget about it, and
Right.
I don't act on it.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
it's just, it's gone. Or it's so difficult. I'm like, no, I don't even want to try to do things like that.
Yep. So as we wrap up our time together today, Todd, I want to ask you, because you work with so many dealerships around the country, when you look at dealerships who are really doing a bang up job with leveraging AI, What do you see them doing that just a kind of the average type dealership is not doing? What are they doing differently, and what are they really seeing as benefits from what they're doing?
I would say the first thing I will say is mindset.
Hmm.
So I think people who are leveraging AI today have a very open mindset and they're willing to experiment versus a closed mindset that's like, I'm waiting for AI to be proven to work. And the problem with AI, it's not a product.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us people have misframed it. And to me, it's a living thing where I have to go train it. It has to understand all your information and data and has to learn through time. So I think the first thing, the progressive dealers are now going through that. They're training their brain.
Yeah.
Their brain from a baby brain, that some we have that are adolescent brains. I don't think we have anyone who graduated college yet, frankly. But I see the brains getting smarter in what they're capable of doing and the types of questions they're able to answer on behalf of the dealership's data, customer data, or just operational data. Like, show me which technician is the most efficient at diesel engine, repairs.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff where it'd be very hard to correlate that data in a manual environment, and no one would go through that work. But LLM is like having that worker for you. It's like, go do that work, man. And listen, if it takes you a day, that's cool. Just come back with my answer.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I
Which is
think, yeah,
more of an underlying reason to the sooner you get started, the better, because the longer your system is up and running, the smarter it gets.
this is the key thing. I think smart groups also starting small. I want
Yeah.
small wins. And a lot of it is replacing probably some of the more traditional things, like let's say monitoring that first repair with the customer, setting expectations, like how do we do it the best we can? um, Looking for customers that were good service customers, but we haven't seen them in a while. So those are great opportunities. Looking deeper into the data, I'm looking now for people who have over 100,000 miles, cars at least 6 years old. I know it's customer pay, but I want to fish in that to entice them back into the franchise system, because most have now moved out into the shade tree mechanic. And I think bringing them back in a way that instills, look, getting your car done here also helps keep more value, because you can hand all these repair bills you did to the next buyer,
Right.
which shows that they used OEM parts, that this work was done right, and it shows you cared about the car. So
Yep.
I think there's traditional things now just being moved over into the AI, which isn't then just blanketing things. It's being more prescriptive with what's being sent and when. And then I think deeper and deeper, we tell dealers, like, you can explore with it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Todd, thanks so much. You've given us a lot to think about today. It's been
thank you.
fantastic. If any of our listeners would like to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do so?
I'm very easy to get a hold of, honestly, Bill. LinkedIn, where I write constantly. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. You can go to LinkedIn, you can subscribe, you can direct message me there. You can go to our website, which is just coreai.com. You can book a meeting at that point, or you could just email me. It's Todd, TODD, at coreai.com.
Perfect. We will put that information in our show notes.
Thank you.
Todd, thanks so much for being a guest on Retention Roadmap. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you having me, and I love to talk about retentions. Definitely one of my passions.
Thank you. You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.